He brings the changes of seasons and times. He installs and disposes kings. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to those with discernment. He reveals deep and secret things. He knows what lies in the darkness, and light dwells with him. Daniel 2:21-22. In June 150 BC, Alexander defeats and kills Demetrius. With the support of his allies of Rome, Pergamum, and Egypt, he is crowned the new king of all of the Greek-Syrian Empire. He later sends Demetrius II into exile and marries the daughter of Ptolemy VI. Alexander writes to Jonathan, who comes to meet the two kings at Ptolemais, and gives them money and gifts. In response, a group of malcontents from Israel falsely accuse Jonathan and are ignored. Jonathan, donning purple robes, is paraded into the city square, and it is proclaimed that no one is to harass or bring charges of any kind against Jonathan. After this, Jonathan returns to the holy city. Demetrius II returns from exile in 147 BC and appoints Apollonius the governor of Coele. He writes Jonathan, challenging him to war for his alleged betrayal. Joppa soon sees Jonathan's army of 10,000 soldiers arrive in a camp nearby. Simon, Jonathan's brother, meets him with his own army so as to provide reinforcement. During the ensuing battle, Joppa, in order to spare itself from the devastation of war, opens its gates to the Judeans. Upon hearing of Joppa's conquest, Apollonius musters 3,000 cavalry and a large army to Ashdod. Even though 1,000 cavalry attack from the rear, Jonathan's army stands fast against them until they grow tired. Upon Simon engaging with his force in a phalanx, Apollonius and his army and cavalry flee. Some of these go to the temple of the idol Dagon in Ashdod for refuge, where they all die in the building when it is burned to the ground. Altogether, 8,000 Greeks fall to flame or sword. After having attacked Ashkelon and receiving a token from Alexander Balas, Jonathan takes possession of Akron. In 146 BC, Ptolemy VI gathers troops in order to invade Syria. In 145 BC, he passes through Judea under the guise of assisting Alexander in his war against the Cilician rebels. As he comes up along the coast, he stations Egyptian Greek garrisons in each town he comes to. When he comes to Ashdod, he is shown the destruction of the city by Jonathan's army in order to get revenge, but he ignores the request. At Joppa, Jonathan meets Ptolemy VI and greet each other. He and his army accompany the Ptolemaic army to the Nair al-Kabir before returning back to the holy city. Ptolemy VI sends Demetrius II a treaty of alliance to fight Alexander, recalls Cleopatra Thea from being Alexander's wife, and gives her to Demetrius II. Ptolemy VI crowns himself king of Syria. The battle, which results in Alexander declaring war in spite, saw him flee from Ptolemy VI to Arabia in order to join Zebediel the Arab, the legal guardian of Antiochus VI, son of Cleopatra Thea and Alexander. In September, Ptolemy VI receives a gift from Zebediel, the head of Alexander. Within 3 days, Ptolemy dies, and his army is annihilated by the citizen supporters of Demetrius II for the next few months. In December of 145 BC, Demetrius II has regained the portions of Syria which had been taken over by the Egyptian Greeks. It is at this time that Jonathan leads his army to attack the Greek forces that have returned and taken the citadel back over. The Hellenistic Judeans, known as renegades, report this siege to Demetrius II, who in turn writes Jonathan and orders him to halt the siege and meet him for a conference in Ptolemais. Jonathan orders the siege to be continued and brings a delegation of some of the elders and cohenim, or priests, with him to the city. With the delegation, silver, gold, clothing, and numerous other gifts, he wins the favor of Demetrius II. Not only is Jonathan exalted before the chief friends of the king with many honors, he is also confirmed as cohen hagadol, or high priest. At Jonathan's request, Judea, Ephemeria, Lydia, and Rathamine are freed from the annual tribute. All taxes are canceled in exchange for $6,760,800. Around the same time, Demetrius II dismisses all his troops except the mercenaries he contracted from the Greek islands to return to their homes and families. This causes grief for the veterans of his father, who grow to resent him. Elsewhere, General Datos Tryphon, who plans to take the throne, tracks down Amaku the Arab, who is the guardian of the 3-year-old Anacotis VI. Once Datos is in charge of Anacotis VI, he uses the child to war against Demetrius II. Upon learning the treachery, Jonathan requests Demetrius II to remove the garrison at the Holy City so he has more troops to fight with. In exchange, 3,000 Judean men are sent to protect Antioch. It is here that a mob of 120,000 citizens attack the palace in order to kill their king and are beaten back. On that day, the 3,000 Judean soldiers slaughter 100,000 of the rioters. The remaining 20,000 ask for peace from the king, and the order is given for the Judean warriors to rest. As there is now peace in the city, Demetrius II breaks his oath and becomes estranged from Jonathan. It is at this time that the veterans of Demetrius first rally to Tryphon, region of Anacotis VI, at Quincerin. Here, Demetrius II is routed and flees. After gaining control of the war elephants in Antioch, Tryphon confirms Jonathan as cohen hagadol, makes him governor over Judea and southern Samaria, sends him gold plates and a table service, grants him the right to drink from gold cups, dress in purple, and wear a golden buckle. As for Simon, Tryphon makes him governor of the coast, from the latter a tree to the border of Egypt. When he travels among the towns beyond the river, he gains Syrian allies. As he goes along the coast, he encounters the respect of Ashkelon and the disrespect of Gaza, the latter of which he besieges, plunders, and burns. The sons of the Gazian leaders are taken as POWs. After returning from Damascus, Jonathan hears of the officers of Demetrius II having arrived in Kadesh in Galilee and intending to remove him from his office, leaving Simon in Judea. Jonathan meets them, during which time Simon establishes a garrison at Bethzur, after attacking the city and reaching a peace agreement with the removed citizens. At the battle of the plain of Hazor, Jonathan's army is routed, only to rout the pagans which flee. Those of Jonathan's army who have fled rejoin the army and pursue the pagans to their camp at Kadesh. By the end of the day, the pagans abandon their camp in which the Judeans encamp. The battle has resulted in 3,000 pagan soldiers being killed. Upon returning to the holy city and after some time passes, Jonathan sends a delegation of envoys to Sparta and Rome. In the Senate in Rome, it is said, the high priest Jonathan and the Jewish nation have sent us to renew the former friendship and alliance with them. When the delegation comes to Sparta, they show the letter from Ananias I and Aulus I back before 265 BC, over 120 years prior. It is around this time that Demetrius II has gathered a large army to invade the country. At Hamath, the Judeans are informed that the enemy plans to attack by night. The battle-ready Judeans terrify the army of Demetrius II, who leave fires in the camp and flee across the Nahr al-Kabir in the night. The following morning, Jonathan learns of the trickery and invasive maneuver. Soon, the Zabdians are crushed and plundered by the Judean army. Meanwhile, Simon and his army march out to Ashkelon and then attacks and captures Joppa. When Jonathan returns to the holy city, he meets with the elders to renovate the city's fortifications, rebuild the wall in the valley, build a barricade around the citadel, and repair the wall in the Kaphanatha district or neighborhood. As his brother tends to the restoration of the holy city, Simon fortifies Hadid and builds its gates and bolts. Tryphon, who is trying to take the Syrian Greek throne, fears Jonathan might not permit him to do so. In an effort to make sure he takes the throne and avoid the non-existent intervention of Jonathan, he invades and meets Jonathan and his 40,000-man army at Beit-Shean. Through conniving treachery, he convinces Jonathan to send all but a few of his men home and come meet him at Ptolemais. Jonathan leaves 2,000 soldiers in Galilee and 1,000 accompany him to Ptolemais. Upon entering the city, the 1,000 men accompanying Jonathan are killed and Jonathan is captured, later being executed. Tryphon sends troops and cavalry into Galilee and the Great Plain to kill the remaining 2,000 soldiers. Instead, the pagans flee, seeing that the 2,000 are ready to fight to the death in vengeance for their leader's capture. The pagans around the Judeans, thinking that they have no help, which is wrong on multiple levels, attacks them. As the heat is what it is, the soldiers who led them bound are disintegrated, as are the ropes tying their legs together and arms together. As they descended down into the belly of the kiln, they found that they are not in paradise. Instead, they find themselves alive and in the midst of the flames. When they meet together, according to tradition, they start to sing a hymn. Within this hymn, they bless the Eternal One upon his throne, who looks down upon the earth. They demand the angelic cohorts to sing praise to him. Beyond them, they demand the cosmos, namely the sun, moon, and stars, and weather, namely rain, dew, winds, fire, winter, summer, heat, ice, cold, frost, snow, lightnings, clouds, and snow to glorify him. In the aftermath of such actions, Simon exhumes Jonathan and buries him in Modin. Over the tombs of his father, mother, and brothers, he builds a high monument with polished stone at the front and back. He also erects 7 pyramids with great columns and suits of armor, which with carved ships for a permanent memorial. Simon builds up the strongholds of Judea and erects walls around them with high towers and great walls and gates and bolts. Amid him storing food in them, Tryphon kills the young Antiochus VI and becomes king. Soon Demetrius II receives a letter and a delegation of envoys from Simon asking for relief from the oppression of Tryphon. Demetrius II establishes a general peace without having to pay tributes, that the strongholds can remain, the prior grants are still valid, pardons for any transgression, and cancellation of the crown tax and other taxes. Furthermore, eligible Judeans may become part of the royal body. At Gaza, Simon encamps and besieges the city after the people who survived the massacre request undeserved peace. Simon expels them from the captured city. Upon cleansing the houses of idolatry, he fortifies the city and populates it with Judeans. Meanwhile, amid the bodies of their comrades, the Greek garrison inside the citadel seek peace with Simon. On June 2nd, 141 BC, the Judeans entered the citadel, which has been cleansed and the garrison removed. Simon, by decree, proclaims that this is to be an annual day of celebration. When his son John has reached 21, he makes him commander of his forces. While John lives in Gaza, Simon lives in the refortified citadel alongside Mount Moriah. In 140 BC, Demetrius II marches with his forces to Media in order to get allies. However, misunderstanding the purpose of the invasion, Mithridates I of Parthia has him captured and his army is defeated. Meanwhile, Rome and Sparta hear of Jonathan's death and become deeply grieved. In light of their grief, the Spartans send bronze tablets upon which their treaty with Judah and Jonathan is inscribed to Simon when they learn he is the new leader in cohen hagadol. Here is the final conclusion. Now that you have heard everything, fear the Lord and keep his mitzvot. This is what being human is all about. For the Lord will bring to judgment everything we do, including every secret, whether good or bad. Ecclesiastes 12:13-14.